Hey everyone, this is Randy from Committed to Completion. Here again to provide you another video to help you lead and manage your wins in life. Again, whether that's in your profession or your personal life, I'm here to help you succeed in all facets of your life. So today, what I wanted to talk about is this concept of agreement versus alignment in the projects that you manage. Whether again, these are projects that you manage in your profession or in your personal life. So first off, let's talk about what is agreement, the definition of agreement versus alignment. So agreement is where you working with a group of people are trying to get a consensus, get an agreement or get a consensus on what you want to do on a particular issue. So for example, let's say you're trying to decide whether or not you want to, buy a car, and you're with your wife and you're saying, well, let's agree on the color of the car, right? Those are like details, small aspects of the kind of the bigger project or bigger thing that you're trying to achieve. Alignment is more on a higher level, right? It's basically more of a, if you will, aligning you and the others around you on a direction, a vision, a purpose, right? So you can think about it in that same kind of example of a car. When you're going to go buy a car, before you even think about like what color you want to get, first you want to think about, well, what am I going to use the car for? Do I want to get an SUV because I'm carrying a lot of people in the car day to day? Do I want to get like a sports car because that's like where I'm at in my life? I want to just have this fun car that I want to drive. So alignment, and then of course your wife, wherever else, has to be involved in that decision. You guys are aligning. You're aligning on this bigger aspect, this bigger picture of what it is that you want to achieve in this effort or this project. So first off, that's the main kind of difference from a definition perspective, right? But what I wanted to talk to you about is, what are some of the major differences between alignment and agreement? And first off, let's talk about the impact on execution, right, or direction. So what I mean by that, in any program or any project, we're always kind of thinking about like how are we managing the day-to-day or the week-to-week execution of this program or this project, this effort. And so when we think about agreements, right, we think about like on a day-to-day basis, a group of folks in your team may kind of come together and say, hey, we need to make a decision on how we want to proceed with this part of the project, right? So maybe let's say you're doing a facilities project and you're trying to build out a space, and you kind of have to agree, okay, are we going to go with this vendor who provides this type of design and material and so forth for this price, right? So that's a decision, an agreement that has to be made between maybe a group of people. And then so from those types of decisions, they may or may be made, in what I call a vacuum or a silo, depending on how many people you get involved. And maybe rightfully so, they don't need a lot of people involved. But on a bigger picture, if getting alignment on your project helps to make sure that wherever there's a decision to be made or agreement to be made, that directionally all those agreements and all those decisions kind of come together under that kind of common purpose, common goals for your program or your project. So it's very important that when you start a program or a project, there is this alignment, and you're constantly working with your team to stay in alignment of where we want to take this whole effort or program or project to. So getting back to that facilities example, let's say, on a higher level, you've talked to the people who you're building this space out for, and as you go about making decisions, you go back to kind of what they required. What was their vision? What was their thoughts about how they want this space to turn out, right? So again, even though there's all these different decisions or agreements to be made, because you've established alignment, you then think about then the decisions are aligning, they're executing toward that overall mission and vision, right? So again, very important that as you work toward discussions with your team, constant alignment, not necessarily constant agreement is going to be more important. It's going to be very important in making sure that overall at the end of the day, you've achieved what your customer or the people you're working for want to see in the results. So very important for in terms of execution. Let's talk about focus. when you think about agreement, right, and think about the people who are executing and doing the work, agreement is talking more about the what, right? What is it that we need to agree upon? What is it that we need to do? So let's say, a good example, let's say you want to do, again, at home, you want to do some remodeling of a bathroom, right? The what is, okay, I want my sink to look like this. Great. What are you going to do to make it look that way? Okay, well, I'm going to tear it out. I'm going to have to then tear down the wallpaper, maybe have to repaint, right? So there's all this kind of, what are the actions I need to do and agree upon to get that work done. Alignment then comes back to that, what is that bigger reason why you're even doing it, right? Alignment, right? So it comes back to saying the why. Like why is it that we're doing this? And I think in my example earlier, I mixed a little bit of the what and the how, because how we're going to achieve something and why we're going to achieve it is more related to the alignment. The agreement is, what is it, the decision, what is it that we're going to do? But again, if you think about when you're in model space, what is the feeling that you want to have when you walk into there, right? Maybe there's a theme or a goal when you're trying to remodel your bathroom. Maybe you want it to be simplistic, so you want some of the decisions around, the finishes and the paint color to kind of evoke this like some simple feeling, right? And so again, here's an example of just trying to understand, why are you remodeling this bathroom, or and then that, making sure that is at the forefront of your planning and your decision making. And so that even as you go again through this, any decision or try to get any agreement on the what we need to change or what we need to do to the space, it all kind of falls back as to the purpose, the core, as to why we're even doing this effort, why we're doing this remodeling project on our bathroom. So again, great example there. Hope that helps kind of link those concepts together. And finally, another key aspect, and then again, these are just these three aspects that I'm talking about, when differences, if you will, between in getting agreement on your project versus alignment on your projects. There's many more differences, but again, these three that I'm sharing you today, I think to me are the most important ones. Love to hear from you, the viewer, kind of maybe what else you think is a big difference, a big important difference, between getting alignment and agreement. Again, agreement being the what, the kind of what is it that we're changing, what is it that we're changing, these kind of smaller decisions within maybe a bigger reason as to why we're doing it, right? But we talk about, if we're working within a team, right? This is going to more of an example in your profession where you're working with a large team, 5, 10, 15 people on your team. And again, when we talk about getting agreement, again, from our previous examples, agreement is really kind of this narrow space, this kind of like, hey, we're trying to get, kind of common ground or get a consensus, right, between a group of folks. Whereas again, when we think about alignment, we want to get continuous if I would say not agreement, but you want to make sure that those 10, 15 people are continuing to align on the bigger picture, right? So we think about what is the differences between the communication there is that when you make it kind of drive to an agreement with those 10 or 15 people, you may spend a lot of effort in one part of the project. And if you think about the time of a project, right? Let's say your project is, 12 months. Well, you may have to make an agreement in month 2 and then month 4 and month 5. So these are very, instances within that project where you have to make that agreement. You have to make a decision. Versus when you're trying to keep those 10 or 15 people aligned, what you're really doing is you're constantly reminding them as to why. Why is it that we're doing this? What is it, the overall mission? And then for this particular thing that you're working on, maybe again it provides a subset, or it fulfills a part of that overall mission, right? Depending on if you're a company, sometimes you have these mission statements, right? Hey, as a company, we want to change XYZ in the industry. But to do that, we have to do A project and B project and C project. And those projects may have some uniqueness, but all point toward achieving that goal in your company. So if we take a project A, again, what are you as a project manager doing to keep that group of people that you're managing to, from agreement to agreement to agreement, that those agreements all cohesively work together to get to that final goal as a product or as an implementation. And then again, constantly aligning those 10 or 15 people to make sure that they're working together. They might not totally agree every time, right? You may get 9 out of 10, 6 out of 10 folks that agree, right? And then if you work by majority rules, that's all you need. But in the end of the day, everyone kind of sees that the decisions that we are making are working toward that overall purpose, that overall why we're doing this effort, this project. Having faith and belief that as you work toward that goal, that's going to fulfill the overall mission of your company or your business, whatever it is. In the end of the day, all this comes back to taking the time and stop and taking the time to think about what is it that we're trying to achieve as a team? What is our higher purpose? When we think about alignment and agreement, really in the highest level, it's always about making sure that we have a purpose for what we're doing. We can do a lot of things. We can, as a project team, we can probably, I've worked with many project teams where you have many smart people and they can think of many things that they want to try to design or implement or add to the overall, product or design. But in the end, the question becomes, why? Why even do that? What's the value that it adds to the overall effort to get to the purpose of this whole project and effort? Again, whether you're building some very high-tech biotech instrument, working on some construction site, building out a lab space or office building space, all the way down to wanting to go and start a business, a bakery, or whatever, right? I don't care what you're doing, as a project. I want you to make sure that when you start this out, there's clear understanding of what is it that you're trying to achieve, your vision, your mission. And then as you manage your project, or if you hire PMs to manage your project, they then are able to align. They align their teams to making sure that we are achieving the goals of that project and that project achieving the overall mission of the company. That alignment will help to make sure as we have needing to have agreements or decision points within that project, that they are all kind of being directed toward, again, that common goal, right? If you don't have alignment and then when you make decisions, they can happen outside of the overall why. And agreements that are disjointed, that don't make sense, end up with poor results at the end of the day. And that's not where I want you to be. So again, think about that as you execute on your life's projects. Just making sure that if you're working with a group of people, take the time to share with them what is it that your overall vision is. It may take 5 minutes, it may take 30 minutes, but in the end of the day, it will pay off. And constantly stop if you see that people are making poor decisions, poor agreements. Stop. Let's remind folks about why we're doing what we're doing. You are a leader, and you can have the authority to take that time, to take that pause, if you will, in the effort to make sure people are always understanding the why. All right, I hope this has been helpful. I thank you for your time. Thank you for checking out my channel. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe. I'll have more and more content like this as we go on. And I appreciate you. Thank you again. And keep leading and managing to win.